breaks down more than my Jeep has in the past 4 years.
Oh, gee willikers. Did your truck break down again, Blake?
No, it's driving now. I had to, I dropped the starter, put another one in, and then figured out it wasn't the starter. Wire that goes, the little black wire that goes up, that goes to your fuse box. I got a little water in my fuse box, and that doesn't want to work. And
Yeah, that'll happen.
And tie a wire to something and touch the battery, it starts up.
Perfect. So you just gotta, who needs a key? Okay, so today we're going to learn about square roots, and we're going to learn about the Pythagorean theorem, and we're going to learn how to do this on your calculator, so you need to make sure you have a calculator handy. Not your Chromebook. A calculator. So get out of your chairs and get a calculator. How are you this morning? Good. Did you have a good midweek weekend? Good. What? I didn't think so. So the square root of a number is a number that you multiply times itself to get to that number. Lots of times kids get confused with what we can add as doubles with what we multiply times itself. Okay? So the official definition for you to write on your paper with a pencil, Mason, is a number that we multiply times itself to get to a said number. So when you see this little sign that looks a little bit like a division sign, that is actually called a radical sign. That is a radical. That tells us we are looking for the square root of this number. So if the square root of A is B, then when we take B and square it or multiply it times itself, it equals A. So if we were to take the square root of 4, what is the square root of 4? 2. So that would tell us that 2 times 2, or 2 squared, would be 4. Perfect.
Easy.
Do what?
Easy.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. You betcha. You betcha. So what's the square root of 0? 0. What's the square root of 1?
5.
No. 1. What's the square root of 9? 3. What's the square root of 16? 4. Yep, even though 8 plus 8 is 16, we have to go back to that 4 times 4. The square root of 25. 5. The square root of 36. Square root of 49.
7.
Square root of 64.
8, 9, 10.
Square root of 121.
11. I don't know.
11. Okay, those are the easy ones. Those are the ones you should have memorized.
Square root of 144.
So, on the back of your paper, what is the square root of 81?
9.
It is 9. 9 times 9 is 81. Next one, what is the square root of 1/25? Whoa. When we have a fraction, think about how we treat fractions. Right? We just multiply straight across. So what would the square root of this 1 be? 1. What was the square root of 25? 5. 25. So 1/5 times 1/5 is going to give me 1/25. The square root of 1/25 is 1/5.
But don't you cross multiply?
Nope. Nope. We are just breaking this down like we would any other number, because in a fraction, when we multiply fractions, we just multiply straight across.
Frozen shut. I mean, you shouldn't open the window because it's like -5 out there.
Well, then it shouldn't be 125 in here.
I think it's pretty comfortable. I'm wearing 3 jackets.
Oh, well, sorry. My classroom, my rules, my windows.
No, I'll talk to Homebrewer about it.
9/64. So when you go ahead, you do that.
It's freezing us out every morning.
Good, and she'll be like, keeps you awake.
3/8.
How do you know that it's 3/8?
Square root of 9
The square root of 9 and the square root of 64. So 3/8 times 3/8 is going to give us 9/64. We are going to start using our calculators for this section. So when you use your calculator to find the square root, you are going to generally, depending on your calculator, we need to hit that square root button first,
7.615.
and then hit the number. However, some calculators have you put the number first and then the square root button. So figure out what your calculator does.
Click second. Then you click the X with the 2 above it. Then you type in your number.
You get it figured out? All right, so we're rounding to the nearest thousandth. Which place is the thousandth? How many decimal places does that include? 3. We have tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So what do we need to look at to round that? We need to look at the 4th number. Does that tell us we're going to round up or down? So what is my answer? 7.616. You'll notice they put bacon. Why did they put bacon between their 2 numbers instead of an equal sign? Because it's an estimate. We rounded to get that answer. Next one, square root of 13. Same thing. We're rounding to the nearest thousandth.
3.606.
Is there somebody that agrees with Mason?
3.606.
And our final one is the square root of 89, rounded to the nearest thousandth.
9.433.
So does everybody understand the square roots and how we get to those?
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Now let's put them into use. Square roots come into play when we talk about the Pythagorean theorem. When we talk about the Pythagorean theorem, we're talking about triangles, but not just any triangles. Special triangles that have a right angle as one of their corners. Okay, so this only works if you have a right angle. In order to show us there is a right angle, remember they put this little square in the bottom. So we can use the Pythagorean theorem to find missing side lengths. The Pythagorean theorem says that one leg, when we square it and add it to the square of the other leg, that equals the square of this hypotenuse right here. So when we add those 2 squares together, it's going to equal the square of the hypotenuse.
Oh, what's the square?
What is this square?
90 degrees.
Yes. That just has to be there to show us that we can use that on this triangle. If it does not have a right angle in it, this does not work. So they give us two legs. This is also on the back of your paper. It gives us two legs. We have to add these numbers, but first, what do we have to do? Multiply it by itself. We have to square it. PEMDAS says we're going to do exponents first. So we have to do 12 squared and 16 squared. That's going to give us the length of the hypotenuse, the diagonal side of our triangle, squared. So we substitute in the information we know. What is 12 squared?
140.
And what is 16 squared?
400.
What?
It equals 400.
200.
That's not what I asked.
No, it's 400.
So we have 144 is 12 squared plus 256, that is 16 squared. When we add those together, it equals 200. Is 200 the length of my hypotenuse?
Where are you getting 200?
That's what Mason told me. That's not right.
400.
I said 400.
Just went with what Mason said.
No, I
He
said
said-
400.
He said
That's
400.
not what my ears heard you say. All right, fine.
Quit with the selective hearing.
I'm sorry, you better get used to that. That's
Ouch.
like the way women will treat you the rest of your life. Just
Oh.
selectively hear whatever we want. Okay. So we end up with 400. When I have 400, is 400 the length of my hypotenuse here?
No.
Why not?
Because
Because that is
Where?
squared. So I have to find the square root of 400 to figure out what my hypotenuse is.
200.
No, 200 plus 200 is 400.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, don't get confused. We're not adding, we are multiplying.
20.
It is 20. So the length of my hypotenuse is 20.
I hate this math.
20 times
It's not
20
that
is
hard, but I
400.
still like it.
20 times 20 is 400. Because, Mason, watch.
I know, you don't need to show me. I figured it out in my head. You're wasting time.
I love to waste time. That's what.
Clearly, you're Matthew.
Aw, thank you. 2 zeros. 2 times 2 is 4, so that is 400. All right. I hate to break it to you. You might hate this math, but again, this is the kind of math that you'll actually use in real life. No?
No.
Okay.
That's why you hire people.
Okay. Perfect. Accountant has nothing to do with accounting. I was thinking of like when I'm painting a room and I have a triangle that I want to make.
All you gotta do is just paint it.
Just wing it.
You don't need
Just
to
wing it.
do all this.
Just wing it. When you're building a fence in my garden and I have this cute little triangle corner that I need to know how much fencing supplies
Make a
to buy.
triangle.
Just make a triangle. Just go to the lumberyard and be like, "Hey, Johnny Lumber, this is what I need." All right. I'm putting a fence here. No, you got to know these things in
You always
advance.
get extra, then you have enough.
Yeah.
I think I'm rich. I can afford to buy extra of everything.
That's what I do.
If you go to a lumberyard and you're building a fence and you buy exactly what you need,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna come up short.
Not if you do it right.
For
No,
a fact,
are
you will
going
always
to
buy
come up short.
No.
'Cause
Ask
wherever
Daryl.
Your post.
He always gets a little bigger because then we can cut off.
Daryl's rich. Daryl has oil wells. I don't have oil wells. I can't afford to do that.
Maybe get a
Oh,
little
tell Daryl he's rich.
All right. You tell Daryl I said he was rich. See what he says. Then come report to me because I'm curious. Okay?
I know he had oil wells though.
Oh, I don't know. I just made that up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does.
Okay, maybe he
Which
does.
it's only like a $25 check every month, depending on how much you have.
I could use an extra $25 every month.
You know, because we get 90% of it. You guys only get 10%.
$25 is $25, man. Okay, here's my new triangle. This is also on the back of your paper. These are my new numbers.
52.8.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We're going to substitute in our numbers. We know that we have 22 that we have to square. We know we have 48 that we have to square. And that's going to give us our hypotenuse squared. What is 22 squared? What's 48 squared? Excuse me, what? Once we add those together, that will give us c squared.
We're rounding to the thousands.
Doesn't say that in my instructions.
Not yet.
So when we add those together, we end up with 2,788. What's my next step?
Square root.
Square root. What is the square root of that number? Now, if you have a calculator that once you've added this all together and you hit square root and nothing happens, that means that you need to be able to write this number down, retype it in your calculator after hitting that square root button, because sometimes your calculator is like, I don't know what number you just had.
52.
52.8.
Good answer.
I guess he rounded to the 10.
They rounded to the nearest,
Tens.
because what's in the hundredths place? A 0?
That really matters.
Yeah, it does, because that tells us whether it's 52.8 or 52.9. Ah, geez. Crazy, I know.
Word around.
Yeah.
Well, it will on your assignment.
Is it online?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Will we get started on it pretty
No.
soon about this?
No, got 2 more examples to talk through.
Okay, skip on through it so I can do it.
All right, sounds like a plan. Here's our next one. This time they give us that hypotenuse, and we have to find our missing leg length. So I suggest starting with that formula again. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Inputting the information that we have, leaving out what we don't. And it does not matter if you leave out, or if you use A as your variable or B as your variable. You can put that 3 either spot. So once we square those, we end up with 9 plus a number squared is going to give us 81. What's my next step to solve for this? What do I have to do to these 2 numbers? Subtract, right? I have to get that variable by itself, so I want to move the 9 across to the other side. Once I subtract both of those, I have 72 is b squared. My final step then is to find the square root of that 72.
8.5.
Well, we're back to thousandths. So B is, if you were to round to the 10th, would be 8.5. They say 8.485. One more example, Mason, then you can get started on your homework. Okay, I can tell.
I'll go grab my other house out of the truck.
Nope.
I'll try to
So a football field. It's a rectangle measuring 100 yards by 53 yards. You have a picture of that on your paper. You should. Oh, yeah, you do. So we want to find the length of the diagonal across the football field. Is that a hypotenuse or a leg? It's the hypotenuse. So that is an A, a B, or a C. It is C. We are looking for C. So when we put this information in, we have 100 squared plus 53 squared equals a number we don't know squared.
113.2.
I'm still writing it down. Square each of those numbers. Add them together. And then what do we have to do to that number?
Where?
Find the square root. Okay, your assignment is online. Probably will say that it is late because it was supposed to be yesterday's assignment. Ah, geez. I know, right,
What are we
Austin?
gonna put